Hi everybody, welcome to All Games New and Old. I'm David Rodriguez.
And I'm Hillary Rodriguez.
And it is the fall, when everyone's thoughts turn to the falling leaves and pumpkin spice coffees and putting gory, horrible scenes out on their front lawns. But more important than all of that is the All Games New and Old Top 50 Games of All Time. This is the first episode of that. I am excited. So, little behind the scenes thing. Usually, when we do this, we don't know what's on each other's lists.
Yep.
This time, however, this is actually our second take. Why, you might ask? When we did our first take, I was on a swift downward descent into a horrible, horrible cold. And my brain was foggy, and I didn't turn on the microphone. So we spent a good 3 hours doing the entire list in one shot. So proud of ourselves. Yep. Lots of funny moments. Not a bit of sound in any of it. Horrible. I've tested the sound this time. So.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. So, I still have a bit of a cold, so if I sound weird at all, I don't know if I do, but that's probably why, but.
And I think I'm on the starting end of that cold, so
oh my gosh.
We'll see how this goes.
This could be a disaster. But anyway, I don't think it will be. I think it'll be fun. So, we're going to do 10 of these each episode. So right now we're doing numbers 50 through 41. Do you want to kick us off?
Sure.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So my number 50, it dropped quite a bit from our top 50 last year. We played a lot of new games this year, and I think have about 20 new games that weren't on my list last year. So a lot of games did a lot of moving around on my list. So my number 50 is going to be Thanos Rising. It's a little bit deck building, a little bit rolling dice. There's definitely some luck to that game, and that's why it dropped so much on my list. It can be a hard game, but because it is based off of luck, sometimes you can have an easy game, sometimes you can have a really hard game. We happened to have one game where we were playing with four players, and before the fourth person ended their turn, we lost the game. So we didn't even get like a full round in before we lost the game. So because I know that's not likely to happen, but because there's a chance of that happening, it dropped down on my list quite a bit.
Yeah, I can understand. That was a weird game we had. Yeah. That game can be pretty rough. I don't know how the other, Somebody Rising games are in comparison. I don't know if it changes much at all, but we got the Thanos one. I still like it a lot, but yeah, I don't think it quite made my top 50 this time, if I remember right. So, you mentioned a lot of your games moving. I had a lot of that too, and I think it's just because, this year we've really done a lot more playing games repeatedly, so we could do reviews. Mm-hmm. We played a lot of different games, and our tastes have probably changed a little bit because of that, and it's just one of the things that happens. So, my number 50 is Unmatched. Pick your starter set, whatever you want to do. But this is such a cool little like arena combat game where you have your deck of cards that are not controlling all your actions. You're controlling your actions, but you're using your cards to control your character. Every character is very different. You can mix and match to your heart's desire. So you can have Deadpool versus Buffy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You could have Deadpool versus a T-Rex. Or Deadpool versus anybody. Achilles, go for it. It doesn't have to be Deadpool. I just,
No, you have to play with Deadpool.
You do have to now. But yeah, it's a really neat game. I don't know how balanced everything is compared to each other, but either way, it's not very long, and it's just a blast to play every time. Very easy to pick up again if you haven't played in a while. Not very complicated rules, but a lot of surprising depth there. Yeah. I really like it. I haven't collected everything, but I'm happy with the stuff that I do have now, so That's good. So that is my number 50, Unmatched.
Number 49. My number 49 is a new game this year, and it's a game that I had the privilege of meeting the creator, designer, and artist of when we did Oddmall towards the beginning of the year this year, and that game is A Royal Will. It's a really fun, quick deck game. Yeah, we did a little review of it, so you can check that out for more details. I had a really fun time with it. The only reason why I don't think it's not higher on my list is because we haven't had a chance to be able to play it with more players, and I think that's where that game's going to really shine.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, it was I went into that game with like no expectation whatsoever, and it kind of blew my mind. It was really good. I forget what we both rated it, but we both rated it very highly. Yeah. It's a real fun game. Definitely look out for that one. So my number 49 was the biggest mover on my list. It was number 19 last year, and it's moved down to 49. This one does have a little bit of sentimental value to me because it is the first hobby board game I actually played. It is Shadows over Camelot. It is a very cool semi-co-op game, so you have a hidden traitor in there, or maybe you don't, but probably you do. And it takes place, during the Arthurian legend times. And I still really like it a lot. I think the reason why it moved down is the things you're doing in the game are pretty abstract to the theme, which is fine. Someone also pointed out to me that a lot of like the card things you're supposed to try and get are basically poker hands, and that doesn't help my mood when I think about that. But I don't like regular card games. But it doesn't feel like a regular card game. But regardless. There are other games that do the trader mechanic thing that I like a little better, I think. And so it's moved a bit, but I still really like it. I'm still happy to play it. The trader mechanic thing, a lot of the folks I play with, including her, aren't like super into it, which is fine. I love it's a very specific kind of tension it gives you in those kind of games, and I absolutely love it. So, still a great game. That's my number 49, Shadows over Camelot.
Number 48. This one dropped quite a bit on my list too, and that's going to be Codenames Pictures. This is my favorite out of all the Codename games because, one, with me being dyslexic, it's the codenames that have words can be hard for me. Sometimes I'll misread a word, and so then I'm giving wrong clues and and then also I just think the pictures is a little bit more fun because you get to kind of see how other people look at the picture and what they see. I think one game we played with I think we had a total of 8 people playing, and one of the clues that they gave was that it was sharp, and there was one picture where people were nobody else could see anything sharp on that picture. There was one tiny little thing that he saw in there that was sharp, but and so it just kind of gave a lot of fun I always think it's fun to kind of see what other people see. And I think really it just dropped down on my list because we don't get a chance to play party games very often. So when we do meet up with our friends, we're normally playing more hobby games. So
yeah, I think that's the case. But it is, that's like an all-time classic. I think at this point, it's so good. I'm not as big a fan of the ones that are specific to an IP or something because you have to play with people that all know that IP really well.
Yeah, you either have to know that IP really well, or you have to at least know the people you're playing with don't know that IP very well. So I'm a big Disney fan, so there's a lot of clues that I can kind of connect a lot of pictures with, but I know that that person's not gonna necessarily know who that voice actor was or something like that. So I can't always give all of the clues that I would want to give because I know that the person I'm giving the clues to won't pick up on all those clues. So
yeah, but the pictures one I think is super awesome. So all right, my number 48 is Raiders of the North Sea. This is a cool worker placement game that has a kind of different mechanic where you place a worker out and then you take one back, and both of those give you an action. And you're trying to please the Jarl, the head of your clan, and you're going out on raids. And as you go further through the game, the earlier raids pretty much become inaccessible to you because there's different color workers that you're moving off, and it's really cool. It's just not like any other worker placement game I've played as far as that mechanic goes. Really like it. Not too hard to learn. I love the art. It's super spazzy, and that's perfect for these crazy barbarians running around, raiding everybody. Absolutely love it. Great game. I have not yet played the expansions. I have them. I even got the big box to put them in. But I've got to get to them. Everyone says that does make the game even more fantastic. So I got to get back to that game. Anyway, it's really good. Raiders of the North Sea. That is my number 48.
All right, 47. My number 47 is Sakura Arms. It's a really cute anime-style card game that also kind of represents a 2D fighting game. You have these little tokens that represent how far away you are from your opponent. and each player plays as two characters, and some of the characters can hit far away, some have to be close up, and there's a lot of like kind of different things that you can do to negate stuff besides just using your cards, and it's a fun game. I know we're gonna be reviewing it sometime soon.
Yeah, for sure. I like that one too. I really think the board is unique with like the Sakura tokens and how you have to move them around to get things accomplished. It's a really interesting system. So cool game. All right, my number 47 is Batman Everybody Lies. So we did a review of this, but basically it is in the detective series of games. You don't actually play Batman, even though he's the world's greatest detective. I guess they figured that you can live up to that. I know I can live up to that. So, but you play a cast of any one of 4 characters, and it's just really neat as you travel around the city and you're getting all sorts of clues and looking at cool like images that are done in a comic book sort of style, so you can see what happened. It's fascinating. It makes you feel like a detective because it is giving you a lot of information. You don't know what all is relevant, and so you just need to like piece it together. And it's a game where they tell you, take notes because you're going to need them. I want to have like one of those big whiteboards and do like string connecting things sometime because honestly, I think it's got enough depth to pull that off. So really good. I think there's like only 3 or 4 scenarios in the box.
Yeah, I think it's 4 scenarios. And 4 characters you can play as. There's also an integrative app that you use with the game. It just barely missed my top 50 list, and I think the reason why it did is a real small nitpick, but when you're playing the game at the end, like you kind of get a better score depending on how quickly you solve everything, which is fine. But my nitpick is at the end, whether you guess the answers correctly or not, it gives you the correct answer. And so I wish that it wouldn't give you the correct answer. So that way you could play it again and without knowing what the answers are.
Yeah, I kind of wish that too, but oh well. I'm hoping
minor nitpick, but it is a really fun game.
Yeah, I'm hoping they'll do more in this series. That'd be fantastic. I don't know if they do the same 4 characters or what, but it's something. Actually, it'd be really funny if they had you play like the stupidest characters and like, oh, I guess I'll be Killer Croc, and I don't know. I can't even think of another stupid character. You could be Man-Bat when he's Man-Bat form, and we'll try to. And it just gives you like ridiculous information because you can't understand it anyway. That's my vote, Portal Games. get right on that. I'm sure it'll be a winner with everybody. So anyway, that's my 47 Batman Everybody Lies.
My number 46 is Summoner Wars. It's a tactical game, but you're using cards instead of miniatures. There's a lot of different fashions that you can play as, and it's a fun game. If you like tactical games, I think you should check it out.
Yeah, it's awesome. And they just, fairly recently came out their 2nd edition. So if you looked at the 1st edition and were overwhelmed by the sheer number of possible choices, it's a good time to get in. There's not quite as many. They have come out with some expansions, but I don't think it's at the overwhelming level yet. I looked at the old one before, and I was like, I don't even know where to be. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered probably, but I didn't know. And
each of the fashions play differently enough that if one's not working for you, just try a different one. And I think some are just going to play a little bit better against characters than others. So.
Yeah, could be. Also, the art on this edition is much more to my taste than the 1st edition. It kind of reminds me of like World of Warcraft, sort of. But anyway, it's good stuff. My number 46 is Soldiers and Postmen's Uniform. This is a solo war game based on, I think it was one of the first battles, if not the first battle of World War II, where the Germans kind of laid siege to a Polish post office. It's kind of a bummer. In reality, when this happened, the post office, the citizens in there and the postmen kind of held their ground for a full day, fending off waves of attacks, but eventually got burned down. I don't know if anyone actually got out of there alive in the real history, but in this game, you might be luckier than that and get out alive. I will tell you, it is hard as nails to have a lot of people get out. And what's cool about it is all the tokens, wherever possible, have an actual picture of the person who is there and their name. There's a few they didn't have a picture of, but I think that's really neat. Kind of like pays a little homage to those people and what they had to deal with. But I defy any of you if you play this game to not try to get out the little girl first. Like, come hell or high water, I'm gonna get that little girl out of the post office every time. I have to. And it's such an interesting game. I'm not usually big on war-themed games, but I am a postman, so I think that's why I decided I gotta try this one out, and it just blew me away. It's so good, and kind of a grim scenario you're playing out, but really amazing. Highly recommend that. That is my number 46, Soldiers in Postmen's Uniforms.
My number 45, this is the one that dropped the most on my list. It went from number 13 all the way down to number 45. And that is going to be Hero Realms. It's a very classic deck builder game. It traditionally played one-on-one. They've had some expansions where you can do co-op. We haven't played that yet, but I know we have it. But it's a really fun deck building game. It's fantasy themed. There is a sci-fi themed one that they do as well. So if fantasy is not really your thing, check out the sci-fi one.
Yeah, absolutely. I just like fantasy better, so I went with that. I do recommend getting the little character class packs because it just adds a little bit more variety to each person. I think it really adds a lot to the game. As much as I'm not the person who says you have to get these expansions.
Yeah, we're not normally big expansions, like, you have to play with that, but this one, it definitely adds a lot to it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. My number 45 is The Menace Among Us. Ooh, another trader mechanic game. This is a game where you are all on a spaceship that is running low on air and fuel, and you're trying to keep it going, and hopefully it all works out, but one of you could well be a traitor. Oh, man. So, a lot of times with these trader mechanic games, they can be pretty long. I can't think of another one, really, that is short at all, but this one plays in like 45 minutes, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
It's pretty fast, and between that and like the kind of, whimsical art, you're all, various kinds of alien species or whatnot, I think it takes away a lot of the kind of negative feelings that some folks might have when they're betrayed, because it's not like you've been working at this thing for 2 hours and then it gets screwed over for you, or you have to keep up alive for 2 hours if that's, whatever.
The other thing that I like about this, game, as someone that's not a big fan of the trader mechanic, is at least the trader mechanic games that I have played a lot. If you are voted out of your party, then you're just kind of out of the game, and then you don't have anything to do while everybody else plays. In this game, you can still vote, and you can still do a few things even if you're voted out. So it makes it so that the game it's a little bit better if you're voted out.
Yeah, I think the short length keeps the amount of crazy table talk and not quite accusations, but we're getting towards the accusation thing. Keeps the kind of the energy on that kind of high and fun. But yeah, it's a fantastic game. It's my number 45, The Menace Among Us.
44. My number 44 is going to be Atlantis Rising. It's a worker placement game that's kind of it gives you a time crunch urgency as well, because as you're playing it, Atlantis is actually sinking. And so you're trying to make it so that Atlantis doesn't sink and rises back up. But as you're placing your workers out, since parts of the island can sink, you have to kind of figure, you get a better reward the farther out you go, but then it's more risky. So it's a risk-reward worker placement game.
Yeah, for sure. I really dig that system too, and you could really see how much trouble you're in as that island gets smaller and smaller, and you're trying to build this thing that's going to portal you all the way and survive the sinking of Atlantis. But very, very cool, awesome cooperative game for sure. My number 44 is Disney Villainous. So this game, as you might guess, you play as the villains of Disney, and you will have your own deck that you're trying to use to accomplish certain things. You have your own little board that'll have the spaces you can move to that'll allow you to do various kinds of actions, and you have a fate deck that has the people that are against you, those dinged heroes, that your opponent can play on you to kind of slow you down, mess up your day. What's cool about this is every character plays differently. They have different kind of goals. They have different things they need to focus on. I remember when this came out for a while, I'd see online people being like, oh, this person's so overpowered, it's ridiculous, no one can beat this person. And then like 3 days later, I'd see someone say about the same character, oh, no one can win with this character, it's so terrible, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's because they all play so differently that some are going to click with you and some are just not, or it's going to be a steeper learning curve for you, whatever the case. I don't know if it's perfectly balanced. I don't think you can tell if it's perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
Either way, I have fun every time I play it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, well, and it's there's not only do the characters play differently, but then like depending on if you're playing with the same people every time, then eventually you're kind of probably figure out what characters work best for who and works best against other characters. But for a good while, there's going to be a time where like this character, like I'm really good at playing this character, but if they're playing that character, I'm not going to do well. Or, you know, there's all sorts of different scenarios that can change whether or not you're going to do well. But that's part of the reason why I like it.
Yeah, for sure. And there's lots of different starter sets, so you can go with like one of the, you know, the big one that has like, I don't know, four characters, but there's a lot that have, you know, just 2 or 3 or whatever. So, you know, it's definitely worth a try. They also have Marvel versions and Star Wars version that I know have some differences, but I don't know what they are, so I can't really compare. But there.
43. My number 43 is going to be Clank, deck building adventure. They call it a deck building game, but I never really think of it as a deck building game. This is another one that seems a little bit more push your luck game. It's not quite worker placement, but it almost has that feel to it to me more than a deck builder. But it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of pressure to try and get the best reward that you can, but then, you know, once that time flips where you have to race back up to the top, there's a lot of like pressure kind of all over the place, and you know, depending on who you're playing with can really change the game.
Definitely. And my favorite / most hated thing in this game is, you know, you play these cards out that say Clank on them, and so that means you made some noise, and you put like your color cube into like the bag that possibly could wake the dragon, and then when the time comes to see if it comes out and you pull however many cubes you have to, you're just praying that your cubes are not the ones that get pulled. And at first that's pretty likely because it's mostly black cubes, but as time goes on, it gets scarier and scarier, and it's bad for everybody when that dragon comes out. So, fantastic game. So, speaking of deck building games that are also other things, my number 43 is Lost Ruins of Arnak. This is a deck building / worker placement game. Funny thing is, I have a physical copy of this, and I have the expansion for it. But I've not played a physical copy of this. I've played it on Board Game Arena. One thing I've realized is that I suck at it. I'm really bad. Like, I'll play in a group, and I'll be in last place, and I'll have half the score of, like, the next person above me. Like, I have not figured this out. Despite it being a combination of 2 of my favorite mechanics, I have not figured out how to do this game well. But I want to figure out how to do this game well. It's really cool. It's kind of an Indiana Jones-ish kind of theme. You're trying to, you know, raid these temples and then, you know, go up the research track, but the temples have, like, crazy monsters you got to deal with, and it's a cool game. Every card is like a unique piece of artwork, which is really awesome, and it's good artwork. Fantastic game. A lot of people love it, and I can see why. A lot of people are good at it. I can't see how, but hopefully I'll get there one day. That is my number 43, Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Number 42. Last year I had a lot of different Cthulhu Mythos games on my list. I still have some on my list, but I don't have nearly as many. But this is going to be my first one on the list this year, and that's going to be Elder Signs. It's if you like Arkham Horror, but like you don't have time to play the Arkham Horror games, this is a really good game to pull out because it plays in about an hour, and it gives you that it gives you that same feel. You have the similar characters, and so it's a really kind of a little bit simplified down version of Arkham Horror, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a really cool, neat co-op. I wish I could go back in time, because I remember the first time we played it, we were at our old house, and I want to know what we did wrong, because that game took forever. Like, I remember being like, this is ridiculous if it's basically takes as long as Arkham Horror does, and it's like this kind of game. And it doesn't take, I don't know what we did. I want to know what we did to make that game take 900 years. I don't remember, but it boggles my mind. I don't know. I don't know what it could have been. Okay, anyway. My number 42 is the game that just won the Spiel des Jahres. It is Cascadia. Randy Flynn's the designer, and it is a really cool, like very simple to learn game where you're trying to, well, you're basically drafting these tiles with animal tokens on it, and you're creating a map with the tiles that you pulled and putting animals in places where they can actually thrive. And each animal will have a goal you're trying to reach with it. So maybe like the bears, want to be in pairs always, and the fox wants to have as many animals around it as it can, and the elk wants to go in a straight, or wants to go in a line, and all these kind of things. You're trying to make as much of that happen as you can, but it's hard because, they're conflicting things and they get in the way of each other. I played this with my 7-year-old daughter, and she did not get the strategy, but she understood the actions of the game. So, very easy to pick up what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I agree. It's a fun game, and we're from the Pacific Northwest, so we're very familiar with these animals as well. So that kind of gives an added bonus.
Yeah, I mean, to this day, when I go walking out in the forest and I see some elk or deer, I try to get them into a line. I try to nudge them so they're... And the bears, if there's only one, I sit that bear down, I set him up a OkCupid thing, and I try to find a match, because, we got to have at least pairs. So it's affected my life in a really interesting way. I've been mauled a few times, but I've also helped bears find love. So, worth it. Cascadia, that's my number 42.
Alright, 41. I think that's actually our first crossover so far on our list.
Alright.
My number 41 is going to be Shadows over Camelot.
Yeah.
The fact that the game, you don't have to play with a trader mechanic with this game, and it's still a pretty hard game. And so, I don't know if there had to be a trader mechanic. I wouldn't like this game as much. Yeah. But I do, playing without the trader mechanic, I do really enjoy this game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, it suffers from the thing that Menace Amongst doesn't. It's a fairly long game. But yeah, it is fairly tough on its own, which all these games like that. Well, I don't know about Menace Among Us. That'd probably be easy without the trader, I guess. But the rest of them, though, are all kind of a challenge, without...
And that's why I don't like them, because I'm like, it's already a tough game, and then you have someone trying to screw you over.
I love it. I love it.
Because I always end up being the traitor.
You do always end up being the traitor.
I don't want to be. I don't like being traitor games. That I'm always.
Well, it's for the best, because when I'm the traitor, I protest too often and too much about how I'm definitely not the traitor, and everyone can tell I'm the traitor. I'm not good at being that deceptive, apparently. So. No Life of Crime for me, I guess. Okay. My number 41. Speaking of Lives of Crime. Speaking of bad stuff. Crimes in History. H.H. Holmes' Murder Castle. Oh man, the story of H.H. Holmes is so ridiculous. He set up a hotel during the World's Fair in Chicago, and it was basically a death trap. You could check in, but you can't check out. But really, you probably weren't going to check out a lot of the time. He's like a Batman villain.
Yeah.
And a horrible person. But in this game, you are playing people that have some association with him, and he's in trouble with the law. You don't want to get caught up in that. So you're getting into the murder castle, and you're trying to collect evidence that would get you in trouble or connect you to him. But he's roaming around the castle too, causing you problems. He doesn't kill you or anything, but it's tricky. You have different players you could be as with different powers, and you can get in each other's way and cause each other problems. But it's a dang fun game. I don't know how readily available this is out there, but I backed it purely because it was a true crime thing. I barely looked into what it did at all. I mean, I say that sometimes a lot, but really, I was like, it's H.H. Holmes, I gotta get it.
Yep.
And it turned out to be a fantastic game. Really like it. That's my 41. Crimes in History, H.H. Holmes' Murder Castle. So, that's it. That is the first 10 of our top 50. And the next one will be coming soon. I haven't decided how often I'm going to put these out, but they will be coming out. Watch for them. Tell us what you think of these spaces. Do you think like we are like way undervaluing something? I guess it's probably too early to tell us that we're missing something. I don't think anyone's so passionate. Like, no, this game has to be a 43. Why did you not? But yeah, I'm curious what you think of some of these games. And if you want to ask anything about any of these games, by all means, I'll try to help you out. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit like and subscribe and click the little bell icon so you can know about the next time we put out a video. Otherwise, look forward to seeing you all around the table again at All Games New and Old.
Bye.
If you enjoyed that video, you might also like this one.
Or this one.
If you like any of our videos, what you should do is click this little button to subscribe so you'll know about the next time we put out a video.
We'll see you around the table.
Bye.
Bye.